This episode is supported by Stamps.com, where you can buy and print official U.S. postage for any letter or package using your own computer and printer. For a 4-week trial and a special $110 bonus offer, go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter the promo code HERD. This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening, live in Los Angeles on iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and FS1. It is not a coincidence I'm wearing Dallas Cowboy colors today. I am color coordinated for America's most fascinating team. When I roll the tape in a couple of minutes, you will see my shirt matches Tony Romo in respect to one of the great all-time NFL quarterbacks. Yes, I said that. One of the great all-time NFL quarterbacks. Christine Leahy joining me as always. She has almost like Baltimore Raven colors on. They're playing the Cowboys this week.
Let's call it wine. Are you doing it in support of Tony Romo or because you support the decision?
I support Tony Romo. I love Tony Romo. I have loved Tony Romo. I thought he was the closest thing in this league to Aaron Rodgers. Now I think it's Derek Carr of the Raiders. I am a Romo fan. He made the quarterback position for the Cowboys glamorous again, much like Derek Jeter did to the Yankees shortstop position. Let me start with this. I am a big believer in body language and reading people. Sometimes it's to protect myself. Other times, I'll be frank here, it's to manipulate others. Oh, I've gone to therapy on it. I read body language. I could tell when I met Christine Leahy and we interviewed a year ago, a little reluctant, starting to like me, all in. I could tell. I can read it. I drove home that day. I said, all right, she's on the team. I believe it's real. Go on a date a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I started saying on American television, Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers and some of his teammates, that body language ain't good. Funny now, everybody in the media now talks about it. 2 years ago, I said, Derek Carr, watch his body language. Everybody in his face. What did we hear this year? Work ethic. Teammates love him. Totally engaged. I'm not trying to play sociologist, but it matters, and it's obvious. You go on a date, you can tell she's into you, she's not into you. You can tell during an interview when you say something and the guy thinks, not into this guy. We all know the game. It's real. Anybody notice Tony Romo's body language yesterday? Facial expressions, body language. That speech by Tony Romo and that body language at the podium gave you a glimpse of what the behind-the-scene discussions were with Jerry Jones. You didn't have to be in that room. You didn't have to be a fly on the wall. You didn't have to be listening on a phone call. I know what the discussions were like with Tony Romo and Jerry Jones based on that press conference yesterday. Tony looked a little low energy. Hey, guys. Tried to make a joke. Depressed, stoic. What you saw yesterday, barring an injury, was the end of Tony Romo in Dallas. It's the end. He said something at the very end of the press conference, and I watched it and I listened to it. And what I do when I watch and listen to things a second time is I turn the sound down and just watch the body language. Or I turn around my chair and just listen to the voice. It's a trick I learned years ago from news directors. Sometimes you can be enamored with appearance. Sometimes you can be too enamored with voice. But if you watch that, then you watch it again with the sound down, and then you turn your chair around and watch that press conference again, not looking at Tony, depressed, stoic, final chapter. Listen to this very final thing Tony Romo said.
I feel like we all have two battles or two enemies going on. One with the man across from you. The second is with the man inside of you. I think once you control the one inside of you, the one across from you really doesn't matter.
That ain't football. That's philosophy. That ain't football right there. That's life. What you saw yesterday was the first act to the final chapter in Dallas. He'll probably hold one or two more of those. That was the first act to the final chapter. That was not a football comment. That was introspection. That was intuitive. That is how I feel. That is how I see the world. That is how I see myself within the Cowboys structure. That comment said it all. That was conceding. That was acknowledging. That was, it's been great. I'll be a good soldier, but it's over here. Everybody's going to say, it's not over. They play Baltimore. Dak is a rookie. Tony Romo's fantastic. You go back and look at that press conference for anybody in the media that can, or any of you fans that can do it on YouTube. You go watch it again. Turn the sound down. Watch the body language. That's like the last time you and your wife have a serious talk before a divorce. I've had one of those talks. They're painful. That was painful for Tony Romo. He is a remarkable talent. I think he will end his career with another team. I absolutely think I know that team. It is not a team I've talked about before, but I will lay that out for you coming up in 10 minutes. Before we get to that, though, oh, boy. I saw this story. I'm going to give this a name. Tonight in the NBA, the Rockets' James Harden faces the Thunder's Russell Westbrook. The headline, it will pit the game's top two guards. I'm going to call this Slobberfest 2016. Oh, my God. Unfollow every NBA guy on Twitter tonight. The dribbling you'll see will be the saliva running down the chins of NBA beat writers. Yes, I've been told that Harden and Westbrook are amazing. And the media in the NBA, often promotional, fanboyish, pom-pom waving, sycophant-like, forgets to tell you that the NBA leaders in turnovers are John Wall, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook. Dynamic, electric, turnover machines who don't play much on the other end at times. Those players, Westbrook and Harden, are championship deterrents, not championship ingredients. Sort of a difference. You see, I see the NBA differently than NBA beat writers. I am going to give you the favorite NBA players from the media perspective. LeBron, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, James Harden, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, John Wall, Blake Griffin. Oh, that's who the NBA media loves. Flashy, exciting, dynamic. Westbrook, Harden. I'm going to give you my favorite NBA players. See if you noticed a difference. LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul, Jimmy Butler, Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, Paul George. Tough, high basketball IQs, often not flashy, often don't appear to be dynamic. Guys who sometimes have overcome injuries. That's what happens when you play defense. Tough, not always liked by teammates. Physical, not always loved or appreciated by fans. Those are my favorite NBA players. Tonight, the two guys Twitter loves, Harden and Westbrook, will put on a fireworks show. It's Slobberfest 2016. Just look at those numbers. 30 points, 10 assists, and 12 assists. What's T.O.? Timeout, turnover? What? Like 6 turnovers a game. That's terrible. That's terrible. And one of those guys plays no defense. So get ready for it. Stay off Twitter tonight, Christine. Oh, my God. Stay off Twitter tonight. A dangerous place for common sense. A dangerous place for those that like defense and physicality and winning titles and availability and toughness and not flash. Great to have you in today. I'm just starting. I've got a lot of energy, clearly. I've got a lot of things going on. Of course, every day I walk into FS1, And the amazing team here, they put out 3 or 4 shirts, because it is a TV show, of what I could wear. And today I had all these vibrant colors. And I did this during the Cubs run. And I did it this morning out of respect for Tony Romo, because I love Romo. And I like people who don't get the respect. That's why I put Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Chris Paul in there. I love guys who are great, but they don't attract.
Right.
They don't attract the attention. They don't date they don't date a Kardashian. They don't have a 48-inch vertical jump. They don't have a big beard. They're not always into endorsements. Tony Romo's one of those guys. And I love Tony Romo.
He dated Jessica Simpson.
Well, he's a good-looking guy, and it happens. You can't.
He broke up with her on her birthday.
Yeah. For the record, that's the best time to break out with him.
No.
Yes, it is. You save on that present. The point being is that he's not flawless. But Tony Romo is, I could make the argument, the best NFL player over the last decade who got none of the respect. Virtually every player in this league was beloved. J.J. Watt was good for 3 years. Tony Romo was good for a decade. And people forget this. Dallas's offensive line now is phenomenal. You'll remember his first 6 years starting? Tony Romo was running for his life. You know why he's hurt now? Because of the offensive line the first 6 years in Dallas. People forget this. Tony Romo was duct tape for that franchise. And the sad irony is today, Jerry Jones has finally matured, and it's too late for Romo. It's too late. When the organization finally matured, Tony Romo had held them together for 8 to 10 years, and he doesn't get the victory wine. He doesn't get the champagne. I have great sympathy for Tony Romo on that, because you're all watching the Cowboys now. It's offensive line. You go back to Tony's first 6 years. He was running for his life. So the guy that puts in all the time at the company's falling apart. You don't know about the guy. He's working really hard. Doesn't get the love, doesn't get the job promotion, doesn't get the endorsements, doesn't get the money. And then finally the company pops. And he doesn't get invited to the party. I feel for that guy. That guy is all over America. That puts in the time and you don't notice it and doesn't get the big paycheck initially and holds the company together. He may work in the mailroom. He may work back in the shop. He didn't get any of the love, none of the respect, because he got nothing around him. And this organization finally has all sorts of stuff around it, and Tony's all beat up. And Tony put in those hours. And Tony got his arse kicked and pushed around and shoved and a helmet to the ribs. And he doesn't get to celebrate because this is the best roster they've had. Easily, and he doesn't get it. I'm not anti-Dak. I'm pro-Tony. And I thought yesterday was incredibly hard and incredibly telling. That was a sad guy.
Hi, it's the Herd. With the holidays almost here, who has time to go to the post office? Traffic, parking, the one in my neighborhood's the worst. It'll be packed. Everybody mailing holiday gifts and packages. There's nowhere to park. Do what I do. Use Stamps.com. You can avoid all the hassle of going to the post office during the busy holiday season. Everything you do at the post office, you can do from your desk. Buy and print official U.S. postage. And you can use your own computer and your own printer. And then you print postage for any letter, any package, the instant you need it. Then, hey, mailman, pick it up. So easy and convenient. Right now, sign up for Stamps.com and use the promo code HERD. You'll get a 4-week trial, a month, plus a $110 bonus offer. And that includes postage and a digital scale. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com. But before you do anything else, click on that mic at the top of the home page and type in HERD. Stamps.com. Enter HERD.
You know, yesterday we did that story about LeBron James and Posse and Maverick Carter, and I stayed out of the race lane. Like, my takeaway was, I wanted to discuss, I thought it was a dig at LeBron James and his guys. I wanted to stay out of the racial lane. Here, you know, here's sort of the way. I think it's kind of funny sometimes when you see this in politics. I don't know how everybody feels. Like, I'm not going to speak for women. I'm not going to speak for young African Americans because I don't know how they feel. I think sometimes people think everything lands the exact same way for people. Well, I'm 40 years old and white. This is how it lands for me. Therefore, that's how it lands for women. It's not the way it works. I'm involved in a lot of businesses. My friends are. I've learned a lot in business through the years. People tell me, hire diversity, hire women, have age diversity, gender diversity. People's eyes and feelings don't work the same. Posse to me, I mean, first of all, I'm a loner, so I don't have a posse. I'm jealous of people who have a posse. I wish people said I had a posse. I don't even have an entourage. I don't have a guy. Like, I don't have that. I wish I did. I wish people would be like, look at Cowherd's posse. I don't have one. So I don't know much about posses. Here's what I know. Stuff doesn't always land the same for me. Like my wife one time when we lived in Connecticut, and it was really kind of an epiphany for me. And we're walking around Hartford, and I'm like, let's go downtown Hartford. And she's like, oh, no. She goes, women don't like Hartford. And I'm like, why? She goes, first of all, there's those cobblestone streets everywhere. Ever tried to wear heels on those? I'm like, well, I don't wear heels. But again, 40-year-old white male, he knows how everybody thinks. Go to Twitter. He's an expert. So my wife's like, it's a terrible town to walk in. She goes, secondarily, the lighting's terrible. She goes, in the city of Hartford, where you park your car is often a 100-yard walk to where you'll eat dinner with poor lighting. I'm 128 pounds. You're 200. It's amazing how often guy on Twitter who's 40, you don't know how women think. You don't know how minorities think. That's not a liberal take by me. That's just an honest take, being my age and living in the world I've lived in. You don't know how it lands for African-American 28-year-old dudes. You don't know. I don't know. So I yesterday stayed out of that. I said, I don't know if posse's racial. I've used the word. The word thug. Like I've called hockey guys. Ty Domi was a thug. Bob Probert was a thug. They were hockey guys. They're Caucasians. But for some, it may land differently. So what I always try to stay out of is I know how everybody thinks. Some people can't imagine Trump as president. Some people can't imagine Hillary as a president. Neither is necessarily wrong. It's how you see the world. If you live in rural America, if you live in the city, you may see the world differently. But people on social media are absolutely sure how they see the world and how stuff lands for them is the only way it lands. It's not true. So Tony Romo yesterday pretty much signified, watch his body language, listen to his words. I mean, he read off a paper. He sat down probably for a couple hours and wrote that puppy out. He didn't want to make any mistakes. He's now saying to me, I don't want to make any mistakes up here. I know it's not my team anymore. But I do believe there's about 7 or 8 teams that would make a call to Tony Romo's agent. The Rams, the Jets, the Bears, Jacksonville, Houston, Arizona, Denver. I think there are 2 leaders in the clubhouse, Arizona and Denver, because I think there are 4 qualifications for Tony Romo. Tony Romo's got a lot of money in the bank, and he's not desperate. He doesn't have to play again. But I think he would listen to a team that had 4 qualifications. Good ownership, playoff roster, strong offensive line, respected head coach. Okay, Tony's a guy with options. He's the doctor with options. He's been working at a hospital for 30 years. He's got about 5 more left. He's not going to a clinic you see off the interstate. He's going to go to Boston General, the Cleveland Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, John Hopkins, UCLA Medical Center. Okay, he's not going to go to a shabby hospital, the surgeon that's got 5 years left and plenty of money and options. Okay, Tony Romo's going to a place he wants ownership, roster, O-line, respected head coach. To me, it's obvious. Arizona. Solid ownership, playoff roster, good solid offensive line, gotten better, they've rebuilt it, and Bruce Arians, a quarterback coach. Plays inside in a dome. Old people love moving to Arizona. Stay indoors a lot in the heat. Sounds like Tony Romo. Now, you could say Denver, but here's the thing with Denver, is that now that Jared Goff is starting, John Elway is going to feel some pressure to play Paxton Lynch. Because now Carson Wentz is playing, and Mariota's playing, and Jameis Winston is playing. They want to play Paxton Lynch. They want to play, if you move up and you want to get, and you got your quarterback, you're not going to go again to the Peyton Manning thing. And I think Elway realizes pigs get fed, hogs get slaughtered. We've done that. Bring the old guy to town. It worked. Don't try it again. I mean, once is great. Twice you're getting greedy. So I think the Arizona Cardinals, now, it would be better for Tony Romo if the Cowboys cut him and he could select his team. It's better for the Cowboys if they cut him. Half the salary cap hit. But I think Romo and Tony have a relationship where they have talked about this. They're good soldiers. And Tony Romo Jerry Jones would give Romo opportunities to go where he wanted to go. I think Jerry Jones would rather he go to the other conference. He doesn't want him going to Washington. If Kirk Cousins gets franchise tag or leaves, he doesn't want him going to Washington. I think Arizona would be okay because he probably wouldn't have to play him for 2 years. And Seattle probably win the division anyway. Jerry Jones yesterday said it's not over for Romo. Come on, it's over for Romo.
You don't rule out, obviously, we don't rule that out. That'd be madness. If you rule that out, then why would you ever even have a real commitment to a backup quarterback? And, boy, just like any position, but even more importantly, to have Tony Romo able to step in at the right time when you would need him is absolutely unthinkable in a positive way.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's over.
Hey, sports fans, football season is here, and it's time to get in on the action. MyBookie.lv, an industry-leading website, is offering a 50% bonus when you join and deposit today. Are you sick and tired of getting the runaround when you ask for a payout? Come join MyBookie.lv. With decades of expertise, no hassle payouts, and no fine print, you'll experience the greatest customer service in the business, guaranteed. Did the game already start? Don't sweat it. MyBookie offers in-game live action on all your favorite sporting events. Call 844-900-2387 or visit us online at mybookie.lv to open an account and claim your 50% bonus. Pull out your smartphone to sign up with our user-friendly mobile site for adrenaline on demand. What are you waiting for? Get in the game. Call now to claim your 50% bonus before it's gone. That's 844-900-2387 or go online to mybookie.lv to open an account and start winning today. Only the biggest, only the best, only at mybookie.lv. Sign up today.
I've been following college football for a long time. I've always had a belief I don't get paralyzed by records. I think there are 10 schools in America, maybe 11, maybe 9, that just get better players on average. Clay Travis and I talk about this all the time. You can't win a national championship if you don't have a series of top 10 recruiting classes. Last 25 years, it's never happened. Oregon got close off a great coach and a great system and a great quarterback. But those programs are Ohio State and Michigan and Clemson and Bama and LSU and USC and Florida State and Texas maybe, and they just have better players. Even when they're down, they have better players. The minute Michigan got Jim Harbaugh, the next year, the right coach, all those bad players, it were still Michigan players. There's maybe 10 schools in the country. So anytime I have to vote in a college football pool, and it's all records are all tied or it's close, I'll always give the Michigan the advantage over Louisville. I'll give Clemson the advantage over Washington because they have more NFL bodies. The Washington-Louisville story this year isn't the same story if you change coaches. I mean, Ohio State, there's 7-8 coaches in the country that could take Ohio State's players. Nick Saban, Bobby Petrino, Jim Harbaugh, Chris Peterson, and win a national title. Same with Alabama. Nick's not the only guy that would be good with Alabama's talent. But the Washington-Louisville stories, those are about that. That's the story at those programs right now. That's the coach. You put a good, not a great coach at Louisville, a good, not a great coach at Washington, they're not the same team. Alabama's just got more good players. Ohio State's got more good players. Clemson's got more good players. There's 10 schools in the country that always have more NFL bodies. I talked to Barry Switzer on the air about this several times. Even when USC's down, you watch them against Washington, they got much better players. They're bigger, stronger, faster dudes. They got 55 guys of the 75, 85 guys on scholarship at USC, 70 of them are 5- and 4-star guys. Washington's got maybe 18, 20. So once you get the coaching right at a big school, they're just better. And I'm always going to give them benefit of the doubt. So, by the way, here's what the committee has is their top 4. Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, Louisville, Washington first out. Here's what my poll would look like. I would have the Colin poll, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, USC, and LSU are the first 2 out. USC just smoked Washington. You're going to tell me Washington's better? By the way, here's the Vegas poll from pregame.com. They use odds makers and line setters, pregame.com. Oh, gosh, it looks a lot more like mine. That's funny. They got Washington at 9. They got USC at 6. They got LSU at 3. Vegas and mine look a lot more alike because Vegas isn't paralyzed by records. I went to the first round of the NFL draft, mock draft. I'm going to tell you where the players are from. I won't even tell you the player. Clemson, Texas A&M, LSU, Alabama, Tennessee, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State, LSU, Bama, Michigan, Clemson, USC, Florida State, Bama, Auburn, Georgia, Bama, Florida. It's pretty obvious, right? Like 70%, that's where they're from. So I always give those guys the benefit of the doubt. You start looking at all the guys on the SEC players in the mock draft, you start looking around, look where they're all going to school. They're like 75% are SEC dudes or big college powerhouse dudes. So whenever anybody's like, oh, you just favor the big dogs, so does Vegas. Who's right, the committee or Vegas? Who do you trust? Who would you trust? The committee or Vegas? Agendas or let's just get it right? I trust Vegas.
One of my favorite parts of working with Perky Jerky is their mission. Every time you or I buy a bag of the best tasting jerky on earth, Perky Jerky donates to support its 2 charitable causes, Down syndrome and Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And with your help, Perky Jerky's already helped fund groundbreaking early-stage research programs at nationwide children's hospitals in Columbus. And they've provided scholarships, for disabled boys with MD to attend special summer camps. How great. Keep that in mind when you're enjoying your favorite flavor of Perky Jerky.
So I saw this story. Cam Newton, surprise, surprise, surprise. Cam Newton is not in favor of celebration penalties. I am going to let you hear from Mr. Is it Cameron?
Yes,
Mr.
Cameron.
Cameron Newton on celebrations.
Can't wait.
Football is hard, man. I can't stress it enough. This is a tough sport. It's physical. It's scoring a touchdown, getting a sack, getting a win, let alone all that bottled up and staying here at 10 at night, here at 6 a.m. in the morning. Everything, all the energy that you put, spending time away from your family, all that bottled up into being able to do exactly what you planned and foresaw yourself doing. You're owed something.
Oh, you are. Owed a celebration.
Okay, that was the wrong way of putting it.
Yeah, I'm owed it. Okay.
Okay.
Here are, when I say to you, when I think, I've been watching football a long time, so have you. When I say NFL/celebrations, here are the players I think of. A lot of them were very good players. Mm-hmm. Billy White Shoes Johnson, probably too old for you. T.O., Ocho, Ickey Woods, Cam, Jamal Anderson, Atlanta Dirty Bird, Odell Beckham. How many titles? Here are the players I think are the greatest players I've ever seen. Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson, Brady, Peyton Manning, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith. Those guys didn't celebrate all sorts of titles. If celebration means a lot to you, that's all I need to know. I'll give you an example. I don't have to hire many people, but in my life I've had to hire a handful. I've been the sports guy. I had to hire a producer or a weekend sports producer, caster. And I always played a trick.
Okay.
If you were a golfer, that's all I need to know. You're soft. If you're a golfer, I'm not going to hire you. So you know the trick I would always do when I interview guys? I'd bring them in. I'd go, what do you do in your spare time? I love to golf. Whoo, man, I just love to get out the clubs. I love to golf. And if they're like, oh, my God, I love golf. I'd be like, check, not hiring him.
Why?
If you're a celebration guy, it's all I need to know. If you're a golfer.
That is such a dirty trick.
Wait, I don't even, why does golfing?
It's an interview. So the guy is going to agree with you because he just wants to be on the same page.
No, it's an open-ended question. You just said, what do you like to do in your spare time?
No, I always talk about, I love golf. Hey, do you like golf?
See.
Oh, I love golf. Check. Not hiring you.
Wait, I'm not following.
Golfers.
Boring?
Boring, not grinders.
But that's the opposite of celebration, is boring.
No, what I'm saying is in my business,
okay.
I don't worry about, people don't celebrate in my business. They don't spike their paycheck. In my business, I never hire golfers. And by the way, I never get lazy guy because golfer guys on PGA.com, golfer guys obsessed with golf. He's putting in his office. Grind, babe. I want grinders. Nick Saban's not in a golf course. Urban Meyer's not in a golf course. Jim Harbaugh's not in a golf course. Howard Stern's not in a golf course. Rush Limbaugh's not in a golf course. And by the way, what was your complaint?
well, you tricked the guy into admitting something. He might have been a guy who golfed twice a year.
So he's a follower.
Oh.
He doesn't have his own mind.
Yeah, so either he's a golfer or a liar. I don't like either one.
If you're going to eliminate golfers and liars, you're not going to have a lot of people left to hire.
Well, you know what?
You would be surprised how many NBA coaches and GMs spend a lot of time on the golf
You'd be
course.
surprised how many people on your staff play golf and are now terrified to admit it.
Colin Goulet and I play golf together.
You do?
It's been nice working with you.
All 3 hours of The Herd are always streaming on the Herd channel on the iHeartRadio app.
Let's bring in Joel Klatt, who last week, USC Washington, was one of the best broadcasts in the history of the company.
Thank you.
Oh, it was great. You and Gus were unbelievable.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was drunk, but it sounded great. No, you guys were
That's the key.
You were fantastic last
Appreciate
week.
it.
You were really good. This week, Washington State, Colorado, which will be the best game in the country. Nobody understands.
Nobody understands it. Both of them division leaders right now in the Pac-12 North and Pac-12 South. And Colorado with an outside shot at the playoff because they're going to have a ranked team this week, a ranked team next week in Utah, and then a potential Pac-12 championship.
They play real defense.
They do play real defense. Got to give a lot of credit to Jim Leavitt. People remember him as the South Florida coach.
Yes.
Gotten a little bit of trouble with how he handled some players down there.
Yeah.
But he's the defensive coordinator for Colorado. He's done a remarkable job with Colorado in their turnaround.
All right, so the top 6 teams from the committee, first 4 and the 2 out. Let's go look at Joel Klatt's top 6 teams. Alabama, Ohio State, Louisville, Michigan, Washington, and Clemson. So you really think Louisville's got all those NFL bodies like Clemson and LSU and all those?
No, but in college football, it's even more of a quarterback-centric sport. Unless you're great everywhere, it's a quarterback-centric sport. And Lamar Jackson's the best player in college football. He alone makes them the third best team in the country, at least the way I see it right now.
All right, so here's my argument with all this stuff,
in general, the committee
you're
and the
fine.
rankings.
Your stuff's fine. I can disagree, but it's mostly you got the big dogs up there. Vegas has LSU 3rd and USC 6th.
Yeah.
And Vegas doesn't care about your record. Vegas says USC poleaxed Washington. You were there. They pushed them around the field.
Well, listen, if this is my entire problem with the committee, and you have to understand in the genesis of the playoff, Colin, the 4 best language was pressed upon them by the SEC. That was an SEC thing. Okay,
they didn't want just records.
No. They didn't want 4 most deserving. No. We want the 4 best teams because we're going to get 2 teams in there. Now, they didn't realize that the majority of their league was going to fall apart for the most part, and Alabama was going to remain very tough. And at the time, the Big Ten was so weak that no one would have thought they would be the first league that got 2 teams into the playoff. That looks like what's going to happen. But if you were going to say just, hey, 4 best, USC's right there. Because there's only 2 teams in the country that I think would beat USC right now, and that's Ohio State and Alabama.
I totally agree with you. Everybody else, you go to Vegas and ask them, everybody else plays them. USC's a pick 'em. It's close. See, here's my problem with college football, and I love college football, and I've never been an extended playoff guy. But let me throw this at you, Joe Klatt. That if you live in Nashville and you watch the Titans for the first month, they were 1-3, never scored more than 20. If you live in Nashville and have watched the Titans, our friend Clay Travis has watched the Titans for the last 5 weeks.
Oh, I know. He tweets about it incessantly.
Yeah, they're averaging about 30 a game. It's a completely different team. That same guy in Nashville who would be mad if Colin Cowherd didn't acknowledge they're a better team now.
Right.
Wants to hold the Bama-USC game against them for 4 months.
I agree with you 100%. See, the problem isn't the playoff. And it's not even the committee, okay? You can't look at the symptom right now. You got to look at the root of the cause. What's the virus with college football? It's a broken structure.
That's right.
College football is completely chaotic.
No commissioner.
There's no commissioner. There's no equity across schedules. Every conference behaves and acts in their own best interest because they want to. Remember back in, I think it was right before the season, and I compared this, and I'm going to do it again, lack of better judgment, I guess. The college football operates right now like our country did right after the revolution before the Constitutional Convention, when the states had too much power and they operated on an island, so they didn't abide by international law, so on and so forth. So what the Constitutional Convention did was put an umbrella over the states and said, we're a nation and we're going to act as one moving forward, in particular internationally. College football needs that desperately. They need an organizing body, a commissioner, and 3 or 4 other people.
Boxing did not have one. It killed them.
It killed itself.
Dana
UFC
White
has it, and they're flourishing.
Yeah, I mean, this is The reality with college football is the schedules are so. I think you should have a schedules are.
Oh, no doubt.
A schedules.
I can fix a schedule right now. Do you mind? I've got it right.
Okay.
Do you mind?
Go ahead.
If every conference looked the same, meaning same number of teams, same number of divisions, all you would have to do is you would have 2 home games in the non-conference against regional lower division teams.
2 in your region.
In your region,
so
you're going to help
Washington
out with
could
their
play
budgets.
who?
Portland State and Eastern Washington. Okay. So 2 lower division teams. Then you're going to play 2 non-conference games against other Power 5 teams. But the relationship is going to be, where'd you finish last year? Just like the NFL. First place against first place, because the Pac-12 South is going to match up with the Big Ten East next year. And you're going to play on campus. So that's your other 2 non-conference games, is against 2 other divisions in college football. 8 conference games, 5 against your division, 3 against the non-division, and that's your schedule. And nobody complains about it, and it's equitable. So if you're bad, you play a last-place schedule. If you're good, you play a first-place schedule. You're going to get more parity. You're going to get much better games, and guess what else you're going to get? Way more revenue, because us, the television network, is going to pay a lot of money to see Alabama go play Stanford on the farm or in Tuscaloosa, because guess why? They won their divisions and play each other in the non-conference. It is broken, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to fix college football, not fix the playoff.
Joel Klatt joining us this week, Washington State at Colorado. Yeah, I've never been, it just always bothers me that the only sport in America where you're not allowed to improve is college football.
Yeah, not allowed at all.
No. In college basketball, you can be a dumpster fire until your conference tournament. I mean, you can go 34 games and be UConn.
Yeah.
It's had years where and it allows coaches to grow. And by the way, college sports should be the sport, Joel, because you're dealing with kids.
Yep.
Shouldn't college sports be the one where kids improve the most?
I would want to see that. There's no question I would want to see that. And that's again where you get into, imagine this in college basketball. Imagine if the March Madness committee, they got together and 6 weeks prior to the tournament, they released their field of 68. Everyone would think that is insanely stupid. And yet in football, the committee gets in a room and releases their rankings every week.
And it's 4.
It's insanely stupid. Listen, I understand it. It's ratings. It provides some jobs over there, so whatever.
Okay.
So I'm all for jobs.
So you have Alabama, Ohio State, Louisville, Michigan, and I would put Clemson in over Louisville because I think they have more NFL bodies.
And I think that we're headed for a time or a place in this playoff this year where we're setting ourselves up for 2 conferences to get left out. And here's the scenario. The scenario is very easy. Ohio State wins out, and they're likely going to be in the playoff. But that means that you're going to have to take the Big Ten champ, which is going to be a game likely between Penn State and Wisconsin.
Okay, by the way, Penn State, gutty team, they won't embarrass themselves.
They have improved.
Absolutely, like their quarterback.
James Franklin has done a good job, but that means that you're going to have potentially a 1-loss, let's call it West Virginia, or a Big 12 champion, and a 1-loss Washington that could potentially win the Pac-12 and be left out for a 2-loss Big Ten champ.
Okay, but Washington got smoked at home against the best team they played. Okay, Ohio
To be fair, I think USC is one of the best in America right now.
Oh, so do I. Vegas has them 6. Vegas has LSU number 3 in their poll.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm going to throw this at you. How about this curveball?
I couldn't hit the curveball in the minor league baseball, but go ahead.
we always acknowledge Saban's a step ahead of everybody.
Yes.
Okay, this is where Saban's so smart. A month ago, he hired Steve Sarkisian. And we're like, kind of wacky.
Sure.
But I think you suggested it was keep away. So Ed Orgeron can recruit toe-to-toe with Nick. He can. Ed Orgeron can coach defense.
Yep.
That Ed Orgeron will hire Steve Sarkisian to run his offense. And Alabama, now that's real now. Because you're going to have an offense. I think, my personal opinion, Sark's a better coach than Lane Kiffin. I believe that.
I think he is as well. He's a better head coach than Lane.
Is he a better coordinator?
I would say they're about even. Okay. Both very creative.
Okay.
And with a structure of a defensive-oriented head coach, both would flourish.
Everybody thinks I'm crazy with Ed Orgeron. But if Ed could completely relinquish the offense to Sark, you don't want to play LSU.
Well,
listen, Sark's a great recruiter, too.
I thought that was one of the reasons why Nick hired him at Alabama, was so that
keep him away.
When all of a sudden either Les or Cam Cameron got the tank, and ended up both of them did, that they couldn't bring in Sark in the middle of the year. I think it was make him an analyst. He helps your team. He knows lane, all those different things. They've done a remarkable job. Alabama is so far and away better than everybody else in the country.
It's not close.
It's not even close. And you give Nick Saban a lot of credit. He's done a marvelous job of continuing to develop that program. He's doing this with a true freshman quarterback.
And he's evolving. I'll give Nick a lot of credit. When you watch their offense now, he's clearly given Kiffin a lot of freedom. Multiple looks.
Yeah.
Multiple sets. Alabama is running right now as sophisticated an SEC offense. Very clever. I mean, they came out the other day and against Mississippi State in the first 2 series, and I'm like, it looked like Canadian football. Yeah. I mean, they got multiple sets.
Just think how good they're going to be a year from now when Jalen Hurts is like more experienced. I mean, they're just scratching the surface with this guy at the quarterback position. He's a special player. I don't know. If anyone beats Alabama, it's going to be a severe upset. We'll see if that happens potentially in the playoffs. Certainly nobody in the SEC is not going to do it. Auburn's not going to touch him. And the SEC East champ is barely better than the ACC Coastal champ at this point. They're just garbage in the SEC East.
Okay, we got to go.
Okay. Almost upset?
I'm very busy. I'm up against the clock.
Real quick.
Okay, do your almost upset of the week. Let me get. I'm not even just go ahead.
Guess it. Go.
Go ahead.
TCU over Oklahoma State. Why are you upset with that? That's a good one. TCU, watch out. Watch out for TCU.
That's not even an upset.
TCU's unranked. Oklahoma State is 11th.
They're both of them don't play any defense. So it's going to be like 60-58.
Gary Patterson's team absolutely plays defense because they've improved. I'll take the argument you used 5 minutes ago and use it against you in this 10 minutes of wrong once again.
Joel Klatt.
Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
This was cordial this week.
Yeah, not so much for me.
Well, at the end, it got a little hairy.